Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to this Rest and Worship Saturday. And so, basically, as you know, that we have been on a series, a four-part series, basically talking about revering God or reverencing God, loving others as you love yourself. And so, basically, we did an introduction. We did the first part, which was loving others, and then today we're going to talk about loving ourselves. And so I ask you the question: is it selfish to love ourselves? Okay, so basically, my name is Sheila Rollins, and I am the founder of Sheila Ministries Entertainment and Associates Inc. And on this YouTube, we are Overcomers Anonymous, where we support anyone desiring to overcome anything. And we do it through Jesus Christ being our higher power and also what He's accomplished for us on the cross. And so, on this Rest and Worship Saturday, we reverence the Sabbath. We reverence God in the Sabbath. And, you can find that in Exodus, the 20th chapter, verses 8 to 11, which says, to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall I labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy strangers that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the seventh day and hallowed it. Okay, so there you have it. You can find that also in Deuteronomy's the fifth chapter and also Hebrews the fourth chapter. So okay, so basically, like, to get into our topic for today, I had this conversation with this guy on Facebook. And so basically, he was putting out there, I don't know how we got into the conversation, but it ended up being about it being selfish to love ourselves. And instantly, that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I think that it rubbed me the wrong way is because I tried loving other people before loving myself. Okay. And so when I was in my unhealthier stance, I people please. Okay. I people please. I brown nose and I placated people. And as a result, I felt a sense of loss for who I am. Now, however, God has a love protocol that I like to call it, right? And in the Bible, he says he leaves a new commandment, and that's John 15:12. But okay, the love protocol is Matthew 22:37 through 38. And basically, it says to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, your heart, might, soul, and might. And also to love others as we love ourselves. And then the Bible says in John the 13th chapter, verse 34, that we should love others as Christ have loved us. So he put a bigger spin on it. So the part where the guy, where me and the guy got into a little bit of confusion there. It wasn't a confusion for me. Okay. My mind was made up. Basically he was saying that's why we're told to love others as we love ourselves. And I said, okay, well, let's just think about it this way. Let's just say somebody comes to you and they say, wash my car. Please wash my car the way you have washed yours. And I think that when you look at that, you can see it a little bit more clear. And so basically, what it's saying or that it's denoting is that the person have had to have washed their own car first. That the person that's coming up and asking for them to wash their car, they see an example of what they're doing for their own car or have done for their own car. And so therefore they want their car the same way. And I said, so in a like manner, when Christ says for us to love others as we love ourselves, that means that we already loving ourselves. And so basically in a love protocol, it's God first, then us, and then others. Okay. And even in a marriage situation. I understand that the two become one. But however, we may not be married to that person like for the rest of our life. In other words, we still have to keep our relationship with God. And but basically, do we really want a person that has like lost their self, doesn't have a sense of self? Okay. And so when I look at Jesus Christ, okay, and the examples that he has left for us in like loving himself. The first thing I think about is like when the disciples, he had sent the disciples to get food. Okay. And so when he came back, he dealt with the woman at the well. I believe this is the story where he talked about her, dealt with her. However, if he didn't love himself, okay, why not just starve? He had to have a particular love for himself in order to give himself the food that he needed. And then another one is that after the death of John the Baptist, okay, Jesus and his disciples, he told his disciples, let us go on the other side and rest a while. So Jesus, he basically was mindful of his need for rest. Okay, there were still people that needed food. There were still people, that were poor, that were sick, that was blind, and they needed this healing from Christ. But however, at the time, Jesus needed rest. And so he was mindful to give himself and his disciples the rest that he needed. I think that the message that he was giving to us, even though he didn't say it, was that if we don't take care of ourselves, we are not any good to anybody else. Okay? And so another thing that I like to talk about also is that Jesus Christ was a human being. He was also God. Okay? That's what the incarnation is all about. He was also God. However, if Jesus did not love himself, why would he tell us to love ourselves? Jesus is not a God that, sometimes in people's parenting, we tell our children, or people have told their children, do as I tell you to do. Don't do as I do. But Christ was not that kind. Christian means follower of Christ. In other words, he has set out so many examples for us. And in his example, he says basically, do as I do. Do as I say and do as I do. He left an example. In other words, what I'm saying is that for Christ to tell us to love ourselves, he too have left the example of loving himself. The greatest example I believe that he's left is on the cross, respecting that he was a human being just like us. Okay, he was wrapped in human flesh just like that. Listen, I'm going to introduce this to you. Okay, had Jesus, and this is just what I believe, had Jesus came off of that cross because his flesh was suffering, or for whatever reason, okay, he would have been lost too. And the reason being is because he was human. And even though he came here to do that great sacrifice for us, the moment that he was wrapped into human flesh, okay, everything having to do with us also applied to Jesus Christ. He was a human. So to show his love for himself, he stayed on the cross. He suffered, he bled, and he died. And as a result, he's been our example. And also he sits on the right hand of the Father, having been victorious. Okay? And so in loving ourselves, a lot of times it's hard for us to do that because we look at what we've been given as human beings from another human that may not been so versed or so practiced in loving themselves. But however, it's not our example anymore. Christ is our example, and he was not limited in what he did for us. Christ sacrificed it all. He left heaven. And let's just say, had he not been victorious, he left heaven, he left his Father, Christ would have been lost. But because of his connection with God and his obedience to the word of God, Christ not only saved himself, but he saved us. Christ is our example. So I answered the question, is it selfish to love ourselves? Absolutely not. I would actually say that's a worldview. And I've tried it. Lord knows that I tried it, and I wanted to do that, to love others before loving myself. No, no, no. We are to love ourselves. It's a practice that in teaching us about seatbelts. Stay in the seatbelt. You have better control over what goes on in the car in the case of impact, in the case of an accident. All right, we stay in control. We don't know the end, but we trust in God. And the same thing also, like when we fly in an airplane, they tell us from the very beginning, put your mask on first. Because if you put your mask on first, you can stay cognizant to what to do with people around us. Let us not accept that lie that we are to love others above ourselves. No, Christ says the new commandment that he left us basically is to love others as we love ourselves. But that's not what it's about. This is not what our topic is today about. Our topic is about loving us. Just like the person with the car, they use their car as an example. Okay, wash my car as you washed your car. It's the same thing. We have to love ourselves in order that we can love God. Love others. But anyhow, it comes from our relationship with God that we can even love ourselves and cast out anything before this time that has kept us from cradling ourselves, loving ourselves, and really caring about ourselves. We have to look at Christ and his example, and then we're free that we can love each other, somebody else. But however, we must, after loving God, loving Christ with all our heart, all our might, all our souls, and every part of our being, we're next. You love us. We have to love ourselves. Okay, so basically that's all I have for you, and I think that I did everything that was on here. I hope I did. All right, I love you. I hope this was helpful. Comment down below what you think, where you are, with loving others or loving yourself, basically. Let's focus on that. Loving yourself. I love you. See you in the next YouTube. And remember, give me some thumbs up if you like it. Share everywhere with everyone on all social media platforms. Encourage subscription as you share. And remember to subscribe yourself. I love you. See you in the next YouTube.